Here we go. I hope you got your shitting pants on.
'Cause you are about to shit your pants.
I am Michael Sargent, and you're listening to this program on all Western New York news and radio. All right, first thing that I'm going to get into today is a couple of things that, seem to be, I need to be clear on. I was listening to last week's broadcast, and I'm kind of like, just so much going through my head that I throw a lot of content at you. And I think, realistically what I need to do is kind of slow it down a little bit and, just go over the, facts, I guess, a little bit, more talking points. So, all right, we're going to get the political discussion out of the way first thing. And I want to go over a couple of things because it is, political and their effects, but there's a lot of facts out there that seem to be ignored and overlooked by a lot of people that, look against the Trump administration. And, let's get it straight. I mean, I am not 100% solely in favor of everything Donald Trump does, but I can live with what he does based on the fact of watching 8 years of Barack Obama. And let's face it, I mean, there are 78 laws on the books that fucker broke, and he got away with it all. And the talk right now is all this Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump scandal, and it's like, it's one thing after another. I mean, it's a witch hunt. And you can, there's individuals out there like Mr. Leffler who will completely disagree with me on what I'm saying. But I've heard things come to the table during discussions that, are just absolutely ridiculous to me, when there's conversations regarding politics. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is Obamacare, the premium increases. Obamacare imposes age rating rules that increase premiums for young adults. The law allows premium costs to vary by a ratio of 3-to-1 based on age, but is research shows that natural variation by age and medical costs is about 5-to-1, meaning the oldest group of non-Medicare adults normally consumes about 5 times as much medical care as the youngest group. This means that under Obamacare, young adults will pay particularly high premiums and older adults which will pay artificially low premiums. Actual estimates, that the effect will be to increase premiums for those age 18 to 24 by 45% and those ages 25 to 29 by 35%, while decreasing premiums for those ages 55 to 59 by 12% and those in the age group of 60 to 64 by 13%. You know what that means? That means loss of coverage. Obamacare puts in place new rules that prohibits plans with annual limits. With limited health plans, may not be long-term solution. Some coverage is still better than none. Several colleges across the country have already stopped offering low-cost plans to students because of the new regulations. Didn't see that coming, huh? For example, the 2012-2013 academic year, one college offered a plan that cost students $445 a year with an annual limit of $10,000. But Obamacare requires a minimum cap of $100,000 this year, which would increase student premiums to more than $2,000 for the new level of coverage, thus making coverage through the school an unaffordable option. Remember, Scott, you said to me one time after we had some beers, I wish I could afford Obamacare. Well, it's supposed to be the Affordable Care Act. You should be able to afford it. Why can't you afford it? I know why you can't afford it, because it was never intended to be affordable. Okay? So let's keep this rolling here. For the 2013-2014 school year, the minimum cap is set at $500,000, and after that, no payout cap is allowed. This will likely lead more colleges to drop coverage, since, as a Government Accountability Office study states, nearly all 96% of the 194 student insurance plans they reviewed, it established a maximum benefit amount. Now, with the government takeover of student loans, this provision that was neatly tucked into the massive health care law is an effective nationalization of the student loan industry. Obamacare ends government subsidies to private lenders and puts the federal government in charge of originating and servicing federally backed student loans. As almost anyone is eligible for a student loan, Heritage's Lindsay Burke explains that these policies only exacerbate the college cost crisis, continuing a vicious cycle whereby college costs rise in tandem with the ever-increasing federal subsidies. Colleges will once again be able to increase costs, and students with easy access to low-interest loans will once again be able to pay. That leads to less money for education. Obamacare's massive expansion of Medicaid, which will add almost 20 million more Americans to the program, will be difficult to sustain on an already strained state budget. As states are forced to redirect a growing portion of their budgets to Medicaid, less funding will be available for other state priorities such as education. The Medicaid expansion will increase state spending by an additional $64 billion through 2020. And it only gets worse as federal contributions gradually decline. The crushing fiscal burden here. Younger generations will be left footing the bill for Obamacare and its irresponsible spending. Despite his many lofty promises, President Obama, his law does not reduce health insurance premiums, spending, or the deficit. The latest cost estimates for Obamacare's insurance provision is $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years, which still doesn't include a full decade of spending, since the most expensive provisions don't begin until 2014, as the national debt approaches $16 trillion and the cost of Obamacare continues to rise. Younger Americans will be saddled with crushing taxes to pay for it. That's real interesting for a millennial generation that feels that they're entitled to everything, right? Doesn't want to work. People on welfare. Let's not even go there. The story here that I'm reading, and these are fact-checked, okay? Obamacare's negative impact on young Americans is just one of many reasons that whole nightmare should be used as asswipe, okay? The story and the research, Eileen Sanger, she's a research assistant for health policy studies at the Heritage Foundation. And, of course, I'm sure that, although that these have been fact-checked, somebody will say, well, that's not true. At least liberals will say, that's not true. Well, it is true. Okay? Don't believe it? Keep watching the Obamacare nightmare just destroy the country. Now, let's go on to the next thing. And we're going to tie this into Donald Trump and all this bullshit with Stormy Daniels and, the collusion stories with Russia to rig our elections and all this other crap. The fact of the matter here is President Barack Obama broke 78 laws as president. And there's a list. I'm going to give you maybe 10 of them. Okay? Number 1, he illegally armed Mexican drug cartels and ISIS militants. It's a fact. Attempting to shut down gun stores outside of the law. That's a fact. Spent tax dollars to resettle illegals inside of the United States. Fact. Using executive action to restrict the Second Amendment. Fact. Illegally targeted conservative groups via the IRS. Fact. Secretly obtained phone records from Associated Press journalists. Fact. Carried out military intervention in Libya without congressional approval. Fact. He also expanded Bush's unconstitutional government faith-based programs. Fact. Supported Bush's unconstitutional Patriot Act. Fact. Agrees with Bush's support of unconstitutional indefinite detention of U.S. citizens without filing any charges. Fact. He also supported unconstitutional warrantless wiretapping. He had 4 U.S. citizens killed without judicial process. He ordered private company to fire 1,000 employees. He stole money from retired teachers and police officers. These are all facts. He fired the Inspector General for discovering that Obama's friend had embezzled government funds. Fact. He lied about letting people keep their health insurance. He lied about the cost of Obamacare. He gave tax dollars to campaign contributors and lobbyists and falsely claimed the money was for green energy. Those are facts. Had off-the-record meeting with lobbyists. Facts. Had armed SWAT agents raid a law-abiding guitar factory because it was owned by a Republican. Ignored constitutional requirements for appointees. Tried to outlaw family farms. Auctioned off ambassadorship to the Netherlands. Made the TSA even more abusive and ridiculous than it was under Bush. He illegally demanded monetary payment for Freedom of Information Act. He stole money from retired Delphi employees. I'm one of those guys. Used off-the-books funding for military intervention. Tried to silence criticism of auto bailouts. He tried to silence a video on YouTube. He illegally gave Obamacare exemptions to unions that supported the passage of Obamacare. He defended the Bush administration's unconstitutional, unwarranted use of a GPS device. Was cited by 9 states for committing 21 illegal acts. He tried to seize a hotel because some of its customers had used illegal drugs. Made recess appointments when Congress was not in recess. Supports guns for himself and his wife, but opposes them for everyone else. Approved giving 20 F-16 fighter jets to a Sharia dictatorship. Violated the very same campaign finance laws that he claimed to support. Encouraged employees to switch their employees from full-time to part-time. Employers. Had Freedom of Information Act record worse than Bush. Supported installation of hidden cameras on private property without a search warrant. Accepted illegal campaign contributions from foreign citizens. He lied about the Benghazi attacks. Complained to YouTube about an anti-Muslim video. Falsely said that Fast and Furious was started when Bush was president. Wasn't. I'm telling you, these are all facts. These are all laws. Gave special access to people who raised or donated $500,000. adopted harmful new restrictions on prescription painkillers, even though the House had already voted against them. Illegally refused to submit a budget on time during 4 of his first 5 years. Fined UPS $40 million because of some of its customers had used UPS to ship illegal drugs. Added 20,000 extra pages to Obamacare without congressional approval. These are all facts. That's only 50 of the 78 laws. Here's one of the big ones. Used Obamacare to illegally give the IRS additional powers without approval from Congress. Proposed military intervention in Syria, which I don't think is really such a law, but who knows? These are all things that are fact. He also had the Secret Service visit a law-abiding citizen who had criticized his policy on Twitter. Yeah. And you're worried about Donald Trump fucking a porn star years ago? Are you kidding me? So let me put it to you this way, people. I think I may have found the missing link here. And people are going to hate me for this, especially liberals and certain individuals. But I often talk about places where I come from and places where others come from. And I've noticed something which seems to be somewhat of a disturbing trend with people like me who are not ultra-conservative, but side on the whole conservative viewpoint of things, and those that side on the liberal side of things. Do you want to know what that common thread, or at least what I think that common thread is? And here it goes. I've noticed that everybody who gets like Obama phones and free health care and entitlements from the United States government off the backs of taxpayers, did anybody ever wonder why these people are in that position? Why they need to have entitlements? Some of them work, some of them don't. The majority of them that are completely batshit crazy, they don't work. And what happens when you feed animals? They attack. So if you want to know my honest opinion, and I'm sure this will be considered wrong, it's laziness. We have too many people that will not get up, go to work, and work for the American dream. Work to better themselves. There's challenges, there's struggles that everybody has to face in life. I've worked my entire life. I started working essentially when I was 13 years of age. And that's all I've ever done is work. I would love to be able to just not work and have everything handed to me. So I guess I can understand the mindset of certain liberals. Yeah, they don't want to do anything. They want everything handed to them. Because if that wasn't the case, then why would you accept the handouts? All right, that's all I'm going to talk about for politics. I have about 10 minutes left in the show, and I'd really like to do a little chatting about photography, okay? That's my primary function here, my primary focus, but I've mentioned it several times in recent weeks. The whole political spectrum just drives me insane. I can't believe that I live in a world that is this crazy, beat down with stories of, Russian collusion and Russian interference and, laws that have been broken by presidents and they're not being enforced. This is incredible to me. Okay, enough about politics. I think, next week we're going to put a moratorium, or however you say that word. I don't know. I'm dragging my ass right now. I've been up since 1 o'clock this morning, and it's, almost 5:30 in the afternoon. So excuse me, for doing, the closeout on this show tired, but that's what you get with me. And you want to know why? It's because I work. All right, people, let's do a little talking about a subject near and dear to my heart, and that's photography. This could also be kind of controversial, too, because it may impact, let's put it this way. There's photographers who try to grow their business. And there are facilities out there that are basically geared towards helping photographers actually accomplish that. So, thanks. Something I want to, just point out. Any company that has an interest in helping you grow your photography business, if they are worth their salt, they will, give you tips and things right off the bat. Okay? And it's the same thing with like web SEO companies. They really want your money. They promise you the world. But oftentimes they don't necessarily deliver. Okay? So what I'm suggesting here is as photographers, you're either very successful or you're just running with a pack. Unfortunately, in this area, I kind of run with a pack, and what really, makes me stay involved with photography is the fact that I do a lot of editing for other companies. But because I do have, some chops here behind the camera, I do my fair share of business. By the looks of things, the way things are going, I'm going to be doing a lot more of that, largely in part because of some other content that I've recently created. And what I'm going to advise everybody of is, if you're into photography and you're being contacted or asked to join social media groups about photography, just go into it knowing that you may pick up some advice, but in the same breath, they're not really giving you nothing for free. Things that you can learn on your own just from reading on the internet. How to grow your photography business. I'm what you call an overanalyzer, and I really look through things. And I've kind of found that in my experience, I've been approached by companies too that want to help me grow my photography business. And the sad reality of it is, they offer you, the promise of the world, that you're going to be a, very successful photographer if you complete the program and pay them for, helping you. But oftentimes is the case, you throw out a ton of money and you don't get anything. I've seen it a million times now. So what I'm going to suggest is go out there and take your photos, develop your style, and put it out there, share it. You know, if people really like your work, they'll start coming to you. Paying somebody $1,300 or more to grow your photography business for you is never a good call. Remember something. It's about content. And you have to be realistic with judging yourself. You're either run-of-the-mill, talented, extremely talented, or you're a fucking rock star. Now, what category do I fall in? Well, that's up to other people to decide. I just know that this is the time of year when I generally start getting phone calls for senior pictures, headshots. We have been extremely busy working a certain market, and it's paid dividends for me. And the word gets out there among other professionals about what I'm able to do for them. So the big thing that I always hear is about my process, what I put people through to get them to the point where they finally self-accept and give me that look that turns into the awesome headshot. So, long story short here, people, always be careful. Always be careful. You know, you work hard for this. You know, some of you photographers who have all this talent, you work very hard to build your brand. And the bottom line is, if the content isn't there, you're never going to go anywhere with it. If you have the content and you're not getting anywhere with it, you have to look at why. That was my problem for a long time. What's amazing, in the last 24 hours, I did a few things, did a little research, and I recently just released a video that I did on my phone. And all of a sudden, like overnight, very high-profile people started following me on Instagram. I mean, we're talking over 100 people with anywhere from 10,000 to 1 million followers. And it's all because of my video. And they see the content that I have on my page. And they start, it's like once you start getting those people to follow you, now all of a sudden, they all start following you. So I want to see where that goes. Probably what will happen is everybody will unfollow me. So, which is fine. They'll find out what a dick I am. So, we're at about time for this week's show. And, you get the highs and the lows, this whole follow and unfollow thing. But, by the end of the week, I'm sure I'll be, thinking, oh, shit, I suck again.
Oh, no! We suck again!
Anyway, we'll see where it goes. But, if you're listening to the program, shoot us an email, bigpicture@mrsargent.com, or contact our program director, Mr. Leffler. Let him know that you like what you're hearing. I don't think that'll happen because probably everybody doesn't like what they're hearing anyway. All right. That's about all the time I got for this week. Remember, we're going to start slowing things down a little bit. We're going to start breaking things down a little bit so people can understand where I'm coming from. And hopefully, with any luck, nothing will piss me off this week to the point where I want to have a, very hard-nosed conversation about politics. Like I said, next week's show, I don't want to discuss politics at all. All right, people, that's all I got for this week. I am out of here. Stay focused.
Dilly dilly.